Have you ever been really close to someone and then one day they just vanish? No big fight, no explanation, just silence. Or, hey, maybe you're the one who's been pushed so far that cutting someone off felt like the only option you had left to survive. Today, we're going to get into a really fascinating and often pretty painful phenomenon known as the INFJ door slam.
Yeah, this isn't some kind of slow fade out. It's a sudden stop. It can leave the other person feeling totally confused and honestly really hurt. It feels exactly like it sounds. A door being slammed, locked, and bolted right in your face.
So, what exactly is this thing that gets so much buzz in personality circles? And, more importantly, why does it even happen? All right, let's dive right in and unpack the psychology behind that sudden silence. Okay, so first up, let's look at the anatomy of a door slam. Now, the absolute most important thing to get here is that this is a last resort. This is not some casual tool they use for disagreements or their first reaction when there's a problem. No way. It's the final, drastic move when everything else has totally failed. So here's the core of it. An INFJ, one of the 16 Myers-Briggs types, will just suddenly sever all ties. And this can look a couple of different ways. It could be the full-on block on all social media, blocking your number, or it can be a little more subtle, like an emotional withdrawal, where, yeah, they're physically there, but emotionally, they are gone. The thing that's so jarring for the person on the receiving end is just how sudden and final it feels. But the most crucial point to really get, and I mean really get, is that this is a defense mechanism. It's not coming from a place of malice. It's born from this place of just profound emotional exhaustion and really deep, repeated hurt. Which, of course, begs the question, how does anyone even get to a breaking point like that? Well, there's a really powerful analogy that helps explain this slow, gradual buildup of pressure. It all starts with one of the INFJ's defining traits, their incredible empathy. Think of it like they have this emotional sponge. They don't just sympathize with you, they actually feel what you're feeling. They absorb the joy, the stress, the pain. So imagine this capacity is like a giant reservoir or a dam. Okay, now imagine that dam is just under constant pressure. Every single time a boundary gets crossed, every time their kindness is taken for granted, every time they feel disrespected, it just adds more and more water behind that wall. And sure, they might try to talk about it, try to fix things, but if those attempts are just ignored, that pressure just keeps building and building. And eventually, after absorbing so much without any kind of release, that dam hits its limit. The structure just can't hold the weight anymore, and it shatters. The door slam, that's the break. It's that final desperate move to stop the flood of emotional harm from totally taking them under. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? We have to see the door slam not as some kind of attack, but as this desperate act of self-preservation. When every other attempt they've made to protect their own mental well-being has failed or been ignored, this feels like the only option they have left. So understanding why it happens is one thing. But if you're an INFJ, you might be wondering, am I just stuck in this pattern forever? The good news is, absolutely not. So let's talk about how to forge a new, healthier path. This is the big question, right? The door slam might feel like this automatic reflex, but it really is a habit. And that means it can be unlearned and replaced with healthier ways of coping. It's not easy, though. It takes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of intentional effort. So here's a practical 4-step toolkit. It all starts with reflection, figuring out the specific triggers that push you right to the edge. Next up, and this is usually the hardest part for an INFJ, is practicing assertiveness, learning to say no or, hey, that's not okay with me, before you hit that breaking point. Then it can involve healing some deeper wounds, maybe through therapy. And finally, learning to find a middle ground, maybe taking a conscious step back with clear communication, instead of just slamming the door shut. And it's so important to remember this. Unlearning a lifelong coping mechanism isn't going to happen overnight. It's a process, and it demands a ton of patience and self-compassion. You really have to be kind to yourself as you learn these new skills. Which brings us to the ultimate goal here. It's not about forcing yourself to put up with bad treatment. It's about making a shift from a place of pure reaction to a place of conscious, empowered resolution. So the goal is to shift from that first column over to the second one. Instead of being reactive, you become conscious. Instead of being abrupt, you learn to communicate. And maybe most importantly, the action is no longer born from pure exhaustion, but from a deep sense of self-respect. You're moving from being pushed past your limit to being in control and making a healthy decision for yourself.
But let's be super clear about this. Sometimes letting go is 100% the right thing to do. The goal is not to learn how to tolerate toxic relationships. If someone consistently doesn't get you, doesn't accept you, or just doesn't treat you well, choosing to end that connection is a healthy, powerful choice. The empowerment comes from how you do it, consciously, with clarity, instead of through a reactive explosion. And so we're left with this really core challenge. Whether you're an INFJ or not, the journey is all about finding that delicate balance, isn't it? Learning how to build strong boundaries that protect your peace without feeling like you have to shut the whole world out. It's about finding your voice, learning to say what you need so that silence is no longer your only refuge.